Hello everyone, my name is Sonny Herman. I'm with cmh3studio, and today we're going to go over a Codoozer tutorial. This one I called Timer App. It's how you can use loops and the wait function in your mobile app. So just a couple of things. Codoozer is a software that you can access online by going to codoozer.com, codoozer.com. And what you do there is just log in, create an account for free, and get into the application. And we'll show you some of the application, but today's topics are related to using the loop function and the wait function. Now, just as a reminder of how Codoozer is put together, you have what are called resources. That's the image files, the audio files, and today I have an audio file, an MP3 file that I'm going to use as a resource. The components are what interacts with those resources, so I'm going to use a couple of different components today. I'm going to use a text component and an image component to play the sound and to stop the sound. And then the views that hold those components are like your main view and your dialogs and other types of things. And the wrappers are just what hold the views in place. Today I will also show you some functions where I use the function play, the function stop, the function wait, the function loop. I also use Dialogs, a dialogue screen today to help with those actions. And of course I use menus for the drawer menu. And of course if conditions to help give the app some parameters to look at whenever they start running those events. So let's actually get into the Codoozer app that I created. So this is it right here. This is called the Train Sound Sleep app. And when you launch the app, it opens up this screen here. It has 0 values for the minutes. And in today's demo, I changed the minutes to seconds so it wouldn't take forever for this app to load. But if you just hold on 1 second, I will stop the sound so you can hear the train sounds. So this is the drawer menu item right here, and this is where I'm setting the value for the timer. I'm going to set it to 30 minutes. Now I know when I push play it's going to act in seconds, but you can change those seconds to minutes very easily. So there's my train sounds. So you can pretend that these were minutes and not seconds, and this would go for 30 minutes. As you can see, it's playing in MP3, which is in my resource folder, which is over here. Resources. Oops. It went to 0. I should have set that a little bit longer. I'll set it to 90 minutes, but it's actually 90 seconds. So let's just start that again. But let me go back to show you in my resources where that's at. Resources, and there's my train file right there, my MP3 file, and that's where I put all my resources right here. I've got a font, Broadway font in my resources. I've got my icon for my app there. I also have a bunch of images. You'll see that's the background, the play button, and of course the moons for the drawer screen right over here. And there's the so this is the function of loop. This loop is actually counting down from whatever value I set in the menu item over here. It's just counting down, and when it gets to 0, it'll stop playing the sound. And I'll show you how that function stop with the property, it's called timer. When it gets to 0, it will stop playing the sound. And I also have a hard stop button here, but I'll show you how it kind of gets to 0 and stops on its own. Voila. And if I started it up again, this is the dialog box that'll be over here under the main dialog. I can do the hard stop right there. Alright, so back to our discussion. In the PowerPoint. So, what I've done is, where I'm going to start you off at is actually at the very beginning when you start the program. When you create a Codoozer app, it generates enough of the views and wrappers to get you started on your Java or JSON arrays and JSON objects. And so when you first start, let me minimize this, back at the app, you give your name of your app, you give the project name, you can give your package name as well and what version you're on. You can set your colors, and then you can set your font. And this is, if you just drag and drop your fonts into here, it automatically puts them into the folder called fonts, which is really cool. And then when you start the app, it goes to the main view. So if you go down to view, this is the beginning of your app right over here. And this is just a, just a preview. It doesn't have the same functionality as a full app. So you do a lot of rapid prototyping when you do Codoozer. You build it, you export it out, and then you keep making your changes. But when this app starts initially, I use this property called property.timer, and that's the only one I use in this app. And I initially on preload set this to 0, so that when it onloads, the property is set to 0. Some tips here: write down your property names as you are creating them, and use easy to remember names, because it's important that you keep them easy to remember, and also how it's case sensitive. So if you use a capital T, you'll have to remember to use a capital T whenever you call that property again. Alright, and then so under menus, this is what draws out that side menu there. I'll show you that. So under the wrapper, there's the action bar. This is this item right here. And the drawer is this item right here. So in this drawer, if you go to your main menu drawer right here, main menu drawer, I've got I think 5 elements that when I come into this screen, I present the title of the drawer right here. I've got it for English and Spanish, and I also have an icon. That's this guy right here. And when on click is done, when the user clicks on the menu item, like, it's going to set the property.timer. It's that same property that I was using before. When I first came in, I set to 0. Well, now I'm setting it to 30. And depending on whatever they choose, you can see that it does the same thing. It just brings up the menu. If I click there, it'll set the property value for timer to 120. So I'll make sure I've told you everything I can think of. Oh, I just said you can add images to your menu items, and just like titles, you can specify language. So on the main view, under the image train start, I've got this is kind of like the main hub of where I'm going to call the dialog box, and I'm also going to you can see here when I click on, when this comes on and the user clicks on that start image, let me show you that. So down to main, under contents, I'm just gonna shrink all these down so they're not in the way. This is the train start sound. So when I hover over that, you can see I'm going to, when the user on-clicks that image of the play button right there, that's that white button right there, it's going to go to the dialog screen or call the dialog screen, and then, because this is sequential, 1, 2, then 3, it's going to play my MP3 and it's going to loop the value, but this is my condition here: if, only play this if the property timer is greater than 0. So remember when we first came into the screen, I set it to 0. And what that does is it prevents the user, when they first come to this screen, when it opens for the first time, if they just keep hitting that button, it's not going to play any sounds because that condition currently is set to 0 right there. And so it does do the pop-up, but it doesn't do anything once it pops up. It's just kind of idle. So when they click on that play button, it's going to go to the pop-up screen, which is this dialog box right there. So I'm going to click there, and now I'm there. And you can see this is that pop-up that you saw there, right? Well, here's how I was able to trick the system into kind of doing two things for me. First of all, I wanted to take that property timer and I wanted to count down. So what I did there is I said when the label is on-clicked, I want you to loop for so when you come in here it says loop, and what do you want to loop? Well, I want to first wait 1 second, and then I want you to reduce the property timer by 1. And I want you to do this while the property timer is still more than 0. So again, once I set that to 180, I've set the property.timer to 180, but nothing's started yet until I click on here. And once I've done that, it's going to start counting down. Reduce by 1. And it's going to keep doing this until it gets to 0. Now, when it gets to 0, it's going to stop that MP3 that I've got going on, that train sound that you're hearing. But only stop, and I wrote an if condition too, only stop if the property timer is less than 1. So once it gets down to, let's change that to 30 seconds so it's not so long. So that'll count down to 0. And so it's what it's doing is just, it's looping, right? It's counting down, reduce by 1, reduce by 1, until it gets to the 0, and then it's going to stop when that property timer is less than 1. Right now, voila. So this is again that start sound right there. On the train start sound, I call the dialog screen, I play the MP3, and if my timer is more than 0, it's going to play that MP3. Now remember, when I first come in the screen, I've got it at 0, so if the user just click, 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 it's not going to do anything because it hasn't made this condition true. And then of course just the stop button is the actual last piece of that. So this was the dialog screen, kind of a little bit more in detail, the function loop. So this dialog, I start the loop, I wait for X amount of seconds, I reduce the property timer by 1, that's that function right there, reduce, and then when it gets down to 0, I stop the MP3. When I move this to production, I'll change the seconds to 60. Right here, and that way it's a full minute before it stops. Alright, Well, that's it, guys. That's what I wanted to show you today. The function loop and the function wait are right here. They're two brand new functions. I think they came online probably 3 or 4 days ago. And so this is just kind of some of the stuff I'm seeing from Codoozer. I'm seeing already that they've got more functions than they had just 2 weeks ago. There's the wait function. They've got upload now. I saw camera in here. So this is now allowing you to access the camera. And please go check out the, I believe it's DIY Entrepreneur. It's this guy who does tutorials on Codoozer and MobileCube. He's one of the owners of Codoozer. He's a really smart guy, and he is just putting so much technology out there with this Codoozer product, making this a really, really fresh mobile app development platform. So again, if you're looking to build apps, I recommend going to Codoozer.com, CODOOZER.com. Of course, I'm logged in, so it's bringing up my last app that I was working on. Oh, and of course, you can download your project files. You can put them into your download folder, and then when you want to export them to APK and install them on your or prototype them on your Android simulator, you just come into here. Alright, that's all I got today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Library, please check out Library, lbry.tv. Library is, let me go to that, let me show you. lbry.tv. So this is the library. I don't know if anyone has ever checked into this. This is, in my opinion, much better than YouTube, and it's a great place to get content that you're looking to, instead of YouTube, going to get. So I've got some of the Codoozer tutorials up here. I also have some MobileCube tutorials. Please come check it out, and then if you feel like supporting, click that support button right there, and you could donate your LBC to this channel. Thank you so much, and you guys have a great night.